Or two. Let's take Chad in Austin. You're a new atheist. You want to tell your family and you're not sure how. You're on with Tracie and John.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
So, well, I wanted to thank you guys for doing what you do. I live here, yes, relatively new atheist, and I grew up Christian. I've been soaking you guys' show in over the last, 2 months. Like, I only found you maybe 2 months ago, and I've been pretty much watching it nonstop, both at work and the car ride home and everything. Matt's crazy. I'm really glad, Tracie, you're on. You are super awesome. I love the way you approach things, and you're so eloquent and I don't know. You're great. Matt's like a fucking paladin.
Whoa.
He can be really hard, but sometimes you need that.
Yeah, I think so.
And I love that about him.
Okay.
But anyway, So more than all that, you guys have had a guest on, and I don't remember her name. She was a leader of a Black atheist group.
Oh yeah, probably
Mandisa
Thomas.
Yeah, she was awesome. But part of what really struck me with that was kind of the feeling that we're not alone.
Okay.
And I find myself in a weird spot. I want to volunteer, but I hesitate. And part of me wants to rock shirts and scream out loud and otherwise participate in what you guys do. But I can't yet. I was raised in a really religious household, Christian, non-denominational, faith, all the things, and then I was backsliding for years. And I joined the military. I consider myself Wiccan then. Because I could burn incense in the barracks.
Okay.
That's a good enough reason.
But it totally freaked out my first sergeant, who was super superstitious and supposedly Christian. And he was also super ghetto. And anyway, fuck that guy. But the point is that I lashed out, and I tried a lot of different religious things.
Okay.
And then after the military and a lot of experimentation, I began building cars and making things go fast. And I learned to weld and fabricate and just manipulate atoms and giant unruly herds. And in my desire to get better at it,
okay,
and to build greater and more complicated things, I decided at 30 or so that I needed to go to school. And obviously that tended towards mechanical engineering. So I went to UT here in Austin, and I went to community college first, and went that path. Okay. And it was while I was in school that the nails in the coffin began to happen.
Sure, okay.
Going to school never once gave me any answers or programmed me in any way. It was, honestly, that would have been easier on my grades. But instead, they gave me the tools to analyze and solve problems. Mm-hmm. And they taught me to sift through the shit ton of information that I was going to be exposed to and figure out what is valid and what isn't.
Okay. And the long and short of it is that you ended up somehow reaching atheism. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, this actually happened, and you may know, okay, so there's family stuff. Like, again, my family was super religious, although there was an uncle that I never got exposed to a lot growing up. And it's funny how you figure out how you were lied to when you're a kid.
Yes.
So yeah, there was a lot of that going on. And what I found out as I got older was that my grandfather was a fucking piece of shit who abused his daughters. And my uncle, who turned out to be this badass Green Beret who literally did shit with Kosovo and their infrastructure and a bunch of it. He was a total badass, but he was also an atheist.
Okay.
And he had been ostracized from the family. Like, I never saw him, hardly at all. He was always just this sort of figurehead of an awesome Green Beret. That was pretty much all I ever knew.
Now, was that the primary reason that he was excluded from the family?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
So you don't know of any other family issues that came up that would have...
No, I'm pretty sure my uncle wanted to kill his dad for what he did. Okay. And also he's an atheist. His wife is an atheist, and his daughter, they've all grown up being non-religious.
Okay.
And they didn't have a whole lot of effect on me. Okay. But so after the college thing, and I was in a weird place, although I was still trying to figure things out with God, and asking questions like, going to school, I don't want to say was, I mean, it was part of it because I started to learn how logic worked and like asking
Right.
questions.
I don't want to. Don't take this the wrong way. But I don't want this to turn into like a long testimonial on how you became an atheist. I want to know. I guess your question has to do with your family situation and your concerns about how to deal with this now that you've come to it and how to cope with your family. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah. So okay, that's fair. Sorry. And
no, that's all right.
I'm not gonna take up a whole bunch.
No, it's okay.
I have seen and witnessed my uncle being, as far as I'm aware, ostracized from the family.
Right.
And he came to visit. He had me. He asked me, like in a conversation we had. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube by somebody that goes by the name of Evidence with several threes in the name. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's basically his deconversion.
Okay.
And it specifically was really related to me because he had a very similar background and story and everything.
Sure, I understand.
And so it seemed like to my wife, she's like, man, you just watch those videos and that's it? You're just an atheist? And I'm like, well, it's not quite that simple. Like, this has been a long time coming.
Right.
Right. From that point on, pretty much is when I had to confront the, fuck, man, am I going to hell? Like, I have to approach that part, right?
Okay.
I am now looking God in the face and giving him the finger when I make this choice. Like, this is what I'm doing, and this is a big deal.
Do you feel like this is a choice, though? I mean, do you feel like you could believe if you wanted to?
No.
Okay, so then it's not much of a choice, right?
But it was just in my face. Like, all my life, I had grown up believing in this heaven and hell and stuff, and then all of a sudden, I'm realizing, like, okay, this is the unforgivable sin, or like I'm about to cross that threshold, where I'm stepping into a new world, and so that's hard. But yeah, again, and not trying to give my personal life story, but the question is, so now I have my family.
Right.
And I am scared to death of letting them know that I feel the way I feel and that I believe what I believe. And like my little sister and my mother specifically are super religious, and their faith in God is absolute, and everything they do is based on this.
Okay.
And I feel like if I am scared to death of being honest with them, because it's going to do one of two things. Either I don't want to crush their world, and really what I feel like it's just going to torture them. They're going to be scared for me, and they are going to be in pain because they are worried about me.
Okay.
They're worried about
Let me just take a quick...
And I don't know how to deal with that.
All right, well, let me take a quick...
I'm a super honest person, and I know I can only do this for so long.
All right, well, let me take a quick tally here. So you've got mom and sister, right, who are really religious.
Yeah.
What about your dad? What's his situation?
Yeah, my stepfather as well.
Okay, so stepdad is also religious. And then you've got your wife, you said you told, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife.
Do you guys have kids?
She's not religious. No.
Okay.
Well, she grew up Catholic, but her and my best friend, who I actually live with, both of them are on. They were like, "How did it take you so long to get here?"
Okay.
Like, we quit believing when we were 13.
So in-laws are not an issue here, right? Like the in-laws have a daughter that's already kind of secular, and they're okay with it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a huge shocker if you come to them and say, yeah, I'm kind of with your daughter on this one. But with your family...
Yeah, no, it's not the in-laws. It's totally my immediate core nuclear family that I grew up with.
Okay, so then the next question I want to ask is, how integrated are you with them? Like, do you live with them? Do you live near them?
I moved away. I'm 1,000 miles away.
Okay. All right. So then the next question would be, what is the impetus? Like, what is your motive to reveal this to them?
I can't keep a fucking secret. It tortures me inside. I
This is going to resolve itself pretty soon then. I mean, I guess the question is, a lot of times we ask people, especially when they're saying that there could be huge repercussions like family ripped apart, things like that, we'll ask, like, do you need to, what is the need to do this? And
my wife this whole time has been like, shut the up. She's like, just don't say anything. She's like, I've been lying this whole time and pretending, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you can do it too. And I'm like, okay.
Hey, man, I'm lying. You can lie.
I can do it.
No, I mean, I think your wife's reaction gives me some objective view of how she views your family, okay? So clearly she is in fear that, hey, letting this cat out of the bag is not going to be pleasant. And I'm not saying that means that you have to do or not do anything. I'm just saying that you want to at least be aware that once that cat comes out of the bag, you can't put it back in, right? I mean,
right.
You can't say, just kidding. Right.
Yeah, no, she's totally path of least resistance. She's like, hey, it's super easy to just like pretend. Sure, we'll go to church and we'll.
Well, you don't even have to go to church if they're 1,000 miles away, right? I mean, basically, you could live a secular life and they would never know what's going on, and you could just do what you want.
We do, but it's they don't know that this change has been made, and like I know I will go visit, and then I've got to sit there and lie to them, and it kind of sucks, and I'm kind of personally using the words coming out. Although I don't know if I get to do that.
All right. Here's the thing. What is realistically the worst thing that could happen if you come out to them? Like realistically, I'm not overblown, but realistically, what do you think is the worst thing that could occur?
I guess the two things is one, that would be ostracized in a sense, like my uncle has been, and that he's basically not considered part of the family. Okay. Which just means separation from them, which I guess I can sort of deal with. I mean, but
you can't sort of deal with it, because if that's what happens, you're going to have to deal with it. So this is what I'm saying. You need to think about what is the worst case scenario that you think is within realistic parameters, and ask yourself, if that occurs, am I prepared to live with that? And if the answer to that question is yes, do whatever you want to do. If the answer to that question is I'm not sure, then I would say you want to sit on this until you feel sure. Because you got to deal with the fact that this is what could happen, and that could be your future. And you need to be prepared for that if you're going to rock this boat.
Well, and you need to decide for yourself what would hurt more. Would being ostracized by your family, or whatever you decide the worst thing that could happen is, or not being true to yourself, not being able to keep a secret, the pain of that, to whatever extent you're feeling that you're being, not being true to yourself, or however you would describe it, is that worse than being ostracized, or, your mother and sister being scared for your eternal soul, or, whatever the pain of that. And just, it's a balancing act. It's, which are you more willing to put up with, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I don't have a ready answer for that, and that's something I've got to think about.
Yeah, I think that's what it pretty much hinges on.
There's a lot of variables in there, and I don't actually know all the fucking answers, which...
All right.
Because part of me wants to have them see the light, right?
You need to sit down, and I would encourage you to literally sit down and make a list, right? Make a list of all the bad things that can happen, all the best things that you'd get out of it, even if the bad things happened, and ultimately what you're prepared to live with. I mean, that's a decision you have to make, and the reality of who you're dealing with isn't going to change. I mean, at least not in the short term.
I think I'm going to talk to my uncle, who, from my perspective,
that's probably a good idea.
For a long time, and get his perspective on it as well.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
So, yeah. All right. Well, look, man, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And I love your show.
Hey, good luck with it. Call back and let us know what you decided, like later.
Yeah, let us know how it works out.
I will totally call back and let you guys know what happened when I told my mom I'm an atheist.
Okay. Or if. I mean, maybe you'll decide not to do it, but I would like an update on this, so feel free to call back.
I have a feeling it's inevitable.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Sure. Thanks, Chad.